Hey, it's Marthea Pitts, the MSW coach, and I'm going live because I want to talk about the fact that as your life changes, your career needs and goals should change, right? And what I mean by that is, as of lately, I've been having a lot of conversations with social workers around like things in their personal life as well as their professional life changing and them having a desire to shift in their career in a way that supports this new development that's coming about. So I wanted to come on and talk about 3 specific areas of like growth and development that you will experience as you continue this journey of life, to really bring it to the forefront to help you understand and know that as you're going through these milestones in your life, your career will have to change. And basically giving you words to say it should change, right? You should not have any guilt associated with, hey, the plan that I created. If you had a plan, a lot of people don't have plans. That's why I'm having a virtual career planning retreat on Friday. It's a 3-day retreat to teach you how to effectively plan and how to change your plan to meet the demands of your life, your needs, and your wants. So if you have not purchased a ticket, many of you have already. I'm so excited. It's the first time that I've ever done a multi-day workshop or webinar. And so it's going to be a virtual retreat. We're going to be spending 2 hours on Zoom each day for 3 days over the weekend. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There are replays, but you get more by being in the room live. So I'm so excited for the people who have purchased their tickets. But let me get back to what I'm saying. When you have a career plan, the purpose of having a plan is so that it like maps out what your focus areas will be, what your timelines are going to be, again, to support the things that are going on in your personal life and your professional life as far as your needs, wants, goals, and desires in your career. And so I wanted to talk about the fact that yes, you can come out of high school or enter into your degree program with this vision of what your career will look like, but understand and know that it will change. It will have to change because your likes and dislikes will change. The way you view the world will change. The way you view your philosophy to do the work that you want to do will change. Right now, you are most likely in a place where you're like one-on-one, direct practice service, case management service is how I want to do my work. However, as you mature in life, as you experience more in the workforce, as you like experience the highs and lows of direct practice, like your limitations and you realizing that your impact is not as big, whatever the thing is, you will want to shift. Right. And so I just want to give words to say that it's okay to shift. You shouldn't have any guilt associated with it. And there are things that you need to be doing to making the shift. So let's jump into it. The 3 areas that I'm going to cover. The first is your personal growth and development. Right. So you as a person, as you go through this journey of life, will grow, will develop. The person you were at 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 is not the person you're going to be at 30. It's not the person you're going to be at 35. I always tell people the story that I feel like I did not become grown, an adult, until the age of 35. I realized, looking back at my life, that I was just wandering through the world, just over 18 child, right? I feel like I did not become an adult, even though I had a whole human that I was raising at that point. I think my daughter was quickly like finishing high school on her way to college. So I say that to say like the person you are in your earlier years are not who you're going to be. Every day you should be advancing to a different level in your life, in your personal development. So with that, right, there are specific areas that I've identified like that will prompt or require you to change as a person, which as a result will most likely require you to change your career needs, your career goals to match the thing, to support it, to like give you more capacity to be in this space or to really move in an aligned place. So the first is your personal growth and development. As you heal, The first one I want to talk about is As You Healed. I've learned over the last 5 years that a lot of social workers have gotten into social work because they have a personal connection with the work they want to do in the world, right? I'm not here to try to trauma dump on people, but some people have experienced some things, they've overcome some obstacles, they have been survivors in different areas of their life, right? And because of that, you will, over time, right, your work became like an outward expression of your conquering of this thing, and you want to ensure that others don't go through it, right? I always tell the story that I got into, I'm passionate about helping pregnant and parenting youth and young adults get quality, good paying jobs. That's why I became a macro social worker that has had 5 macro jobs around workforce development and working with national leaders and working in workforce development policy and being the global director of an education program for youth, for pregnant and parenting youth adults, because I was a pregnant and parenting young adults. I had my daughter when I was 20. Right. And so in that experience, I went through a lot of hardship because I did not have access to a good quality, good paying job as someone with just a high school diploma. Right. And I went through a lot of challenges. I always talk about the time when I was really struggling to try to get a job, and because I lived in a rural town. This is before I knew that the town that I lived in was going to be identified in the years to come to be the most economically segregated city in the nation. So I thought the hardship I was experiencing in my life was because something was innately wrong with me, but I was being impacted by the silent systems and institutions that were in place, right? And I didn't learn that until a community college sociology class, and the sociology professor was talking about the systems and about how when you don't have quality child care and you don't have access to mass transportation, how it makes it hard for you to maintain employment and things like that and get good quality jobs and so on and so forth. And it was like an aha moment. It was like the skies opened up. I was like, because that is everything that I've experienced, right? So I say that to say this, right? So I got a battery in my back because of that personal experience to ensure that others get good quality, good paying jobs, that they have more opportunities and barriers, because I know personally for myself, right? I didn't read it in a book. I didn't watch it in a movie. I didn't hear a story, even though I'm a story collector. I know for me personally, one good job changed my life. Right. So I'm on a mission to ensure that others have those opportunities. And it took a lot of trial and error for me to crack the code to figure out how to get a good job, how to get a good paying job in a city where there were none. Right. And so I've done that, rinse and repeat over and over again. That's why I help others do it. So I say that to say, my initial personal connection to the work is what made me concerned with creating these opportunities for my population. However, in my life, I'm constantly on a journey to healing. Another thing I always talk about is that I was in survival mode for over 20 some years, right? I was a houseless young mom. That was before I had my daughter, but I was a houseless young teen. I've experienced a lot of hardship, but in life, right? This is true for you too. If you have a strong connection, personal connection to your work as a social worker, you will heal. You will start a healing journey. And in that healing journey, right, the things that you are willing to expose yourself to, the things you want to be a part will shift, right? I realized that in my younger years, I was addicted to a lot of chaos and confusion, because that's what I was accustomed to, right? But now, Marthea, in my early 40s, I don't want that. I want peace. I want tranquility. I don't like to argue with people. I don't like to fuss. I don't like to fight. So with that, right, the types of jobs, the type of dynamics that I want to be exposed to in my day-to-day work will shift. Right. So Marthea, now I couldn't imagine myself still working in the DV shelter, right, with my participants who were going through active crises and having serious situations going on every day. And there was a lot of constant just conflict and issues among participants. I wouldn't dare want to be in that environment because it doesn't support where I am in my healing journey. Right. So I use that as an example to say that when you get to this point in your life, you have to know how to pivot. You have to know how to switch to a job that supports where you are in your life personally. And so one of those things that you will experience is if you embark on a healing journey. I talked to one of my coaching clients recently. I'm going to release her podcast episode in the next week. And Celeste, who's from California, and she talks about when she entered into the micro to macro accelerator, the last cohort that I was working with, which is cohort 16. I'm now getting ready for enrollment in cohort 18, but cohort 16 just wrapped up. And she talks about how prior to coming into my program, she had started her healing journey, right? And in combination with going through her healing process and doing all of her personal development work, and then going through my career clarity process, she really got clarity on the fact that the work that she wanted to do as a clinical social worker really is not what she wants to do. And it doesn't support where she is in her life, right? And the shift is largely attributed to where she is in her healing journey. So now she wants to support people in a different capacity, right? That doesn't really like re-traumatize her over and over and over. And so she talks about it so eloquently in the podcast episode that I'm going to release, because it's something that everyone should hear around the power in career clarity. So I kind of went on the deep end with that. So as you heal, your career should change, right? Another point in time in your life where your career should change under the personal growth and development umbrella is as you mature and gain wisdom, right? So again, the way you look at the world as the younger version of yourself, be it 5 years ago, be it, heck, 1 year ago. For me, it was 1 month ago, right? The way I looked at the world a month ago is different than how I look at the world now, right? As you begin to mature and gain wisdom from living in life, again, your needs, wants, and goals for your career should change, right? Because a large part of the work when it comes to becoming a social worker is because really at the core of it, you want to help others, you want to save people, you want to do this like magnificent work, and you may come into it like, I'm going to single-handedly change the world. But as you mature and you gain wisdom, you realize that you cannot single-handedly change the world, right? As much as you want to, you cannot do it. However, there are roles and opportunities and jobs where you can like move the needle closer to progress for your populations regarding the issues that you're concerned about. So again, as you mature and gain wisdom and start looking at the world differently and start looking at your place in this world differently, you should be changing your career to match where you are evolving to, right? And it's not just a one-time thing, because life is a journey. Every day we should be waking up a newer, better version of ourselves. If not, you should be at least working towards that. Okay? The third area under the personal growth and development is that your likes and dislikes will change. What you liked yesterday ain't gonna be what you like today, right? And we know that to be true in our personal life. Maybe when you were younger, you really liked sweets. Now that you're older, you can't stand a sweet treat, right? Maybe you love savory things. Maybe the people that you used to like in elementary school and middle school who you used to play in the sandbox with, now you can't stand them. Your likes and dislikes will change. And again, because your likes and dislikes are changing, give me just one moment. My daughter just came home and I know she has her headphones on. She went grocery shopping and she is rattling those bags. Okay, so your likes and dislikes will change, okay? And so because of that, you need to know how to maneuver in your career to support that, right? Again, maybe when you first got into the social work game, you were like, I really like talking to people on a day in, day out basis. I love addressing crises. I love to support people during their hardest moments. I love having tough conversations, because some people are up to that challenge. But again, your likes and dislikes will shift personally, where you're like, I just want to sit at home in my house and read a book and be out the way, especially in light of the fact that we're now in a post-COVID era, right? Still a lot of wild stuff going on in the world. So your likes and dislikes will shift, which will require your work to shift, right? So the first area is your personal growth and development. The second is professional growth and development will require your career needs and goals to change. Abounding Grace says, so true. Thank you, Abounding Grace. How you doing today? Your professional growth and development should require your career goals and needs to change. So the first area that I identify is paradigm shifts that you experience as a case manager, right? I always talk to people about the fact that as a case manager, I experienced a paradigm shift in that cubicle, managing a whole 120 plus caseload of career seekers in an American job center. And I realized that I was not helping the people. I was maintaining the status quo, and I was upholding like these invisible barriers and systems to keep them in a certain place. Right? And so in that position, I realized that I needed to look at my philosophy, which is what I call it, your philosophy to work, how I wanted to assist people with getting good quality jobs. I needed to reassess that and reevaluate it so I could get myself in a position where I could really impact some change. Because in that American Job Center, it was plagued with inequities, right? The workforce development system is just like any other system. It's just like the healthcare system. It's just like the banking and finance system. It's just like the housing system. The workforce development system has systemic issues built into it too, right? And so I realized in that role that I was not there to really help the people achieve self-sufficiency like the AIM and that federal act that governed the welfare transition program I was in. I was there to keep people in their place. Right? I didn't have any power and authority to really get people into life-changing programs and opportunities, because the Workforce Development Center as a whole, the American Job Center as a whole, they cherry pick who they want to give access to certain programs and services. Right? And so when I realized that, when I had that paradigm shift, I needed to make a shift in my career to get out of that role, because I did not want to be a supporting actor in the process. I wanted to be on the other side of the aisle. Again, I told you about my personal story earlier. I wanted to create more opportunities than barriers for people. I didn't want to be sanctioning people every 5 minutes for things that was beyond their control, for people who are experiencing time poverty, who's living in the most economically segregated city in the nation. That was the year I was working in that job. The poorest zip code in Florida. I'm in here supporting the nonsense, right? So I experienced a paradigm shift, and it was in that cubicle, and I was like, I want to get as proximate to power. I want to create more opportunities. I specialize in working with pregnant and parenting youth and young adults. My participants will come in every day and say, Ms. Pitts, I don't want a GED. I want my high school diploma, because the program will only pay for them to get GEDs. Plus, in my city, there were no high school diploma programs that could support a working person, right? They were only for like typical high school students. So in that position, I was like, I'm going to get a job where I can create something or be a part of something that will allow you to get a high school diploma like you said that you want, right? And so my first macro job was the director of a global learning pathway for an online high school, where I was in charge of designing and rolling out a global initiative and program to ensure that high school students, pregnant and parenting youth and young adults could get their high school diploma online without adding anything to their already full plate. Right? So I strategically went out and found an opportunity where I could create something or be a part of something to get my people high school diplomas, because they were saying they weren't getting the GED because that's not what they wanted. They wanted what they would describe as like the prestige of getting their diploma. Right? And so that was one of the things that I did as a result of a paradigm shift. It required me to change my philosophy to my work, how I wanted to do it, what type of impact I wanted to have, what type of opportunities I wanted to create, right? Another area under the professional growth and development where you will need to change you will need to shift in your career is when you focus, like when you get clarity, right? When your focus of the things that you think you're really, really interested in shifts. One of the things that I learned about my, social workers over the last 5 years that I've had the honor to talk to. I've worked with social workers from around the world, from all different areas of practice: clinical, non-clinical, medical social work, school social work, you name it, I've worked with them inside of my coaching program. And one of the things that I learned is that initially when people come into their social work career, they're focused on a certain, usually issue. Usually newer social workers don't have it nailed down to a specific population, but usually it's like a broad scope issue. Like, I want to do work around health equity and access, right? That's one of my coaching clients. However, right now she's in a role that is not connected to anything healthcare, medical, social work of any kind. Right? And it's because she came in with this initial idea, but she had to take what she thought was that she could only get, which was not connected to her thing. And so now she's at a place in her career where she's revisiting her initial career vision, which was, I want to do health equity work regarding access and health insurance access for black and brown populations. Right? And so because she's revisiting this initial goal that she has, she's now having to shift. She's now having to change her career needs and goals. Again, the jobs that she's been working in for the last 10 plus years are no longer meeting where her current needs and wants are. She's like, I want this type of job. This is how I want to do it. This is what my philosophy of work will be. And all of that came as a result of being inside of my micro to macro career accelerator, where she went through the strategic career clarity phase, right? So I say that to say that when you change focus areas, like when your population shifts, where the issue that you want to focus on shifts, the objective for you is not to just retreat and be like, I'm just going to have to stay here even though I'm interested in this other thing. No, this is an indication, this is a signal for you that it's time to sit down and map out a plan to get what you want. And it's okay. I'm going to keep saying that. It's okay when your life changes and you realize, okay, this is requiring me to have to change something in my career. What I thought I really, really wanted, it's no longer serving me. It's okay to shift, right? The third area under professional growth and development is energy shifts, right? This kind of touches into personal growth, but I put it under professional growth. Like, the person you are when you're fresh and new to the social work field is not the person who you will be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, right? We all know when we're new to the field, we can manage 300 cases. We can pull resources together for everybody in the town. We can be all over the place. We can be doing 50 different roles. But usually around month 3, month 6, you start feeling a little different. Your energy starts to shift a little bit, right? This is why social workers go through burnout and experience it at such high rates, is because the roles that you're in are requiring you to be everything to everyone nonstop. I used to tell I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but I used to tell an ex of mine, I always used to use the analogy when I would see people who were doing 1,000 different things. I would always say, a car, if you push the gas down on a car that was going 200 miles per hour, at some point it's going to crash. Some point, you could be the best driver there is, but if you just have your foot on the gas and you're going nonstop 200 miles per hour, it's going to crash. That's the same thing in your career. When you're being everything for everyone, because we know when you get your first social work job, you're not just social working at your 9 to 5. You're doing it in your personal life. You're doing it with your friends and family. Your friends and family are sending complete strangers so you can help them work through their thing. When you're going at that high, constant rapid rate of just non-stop, your energy will shift. You're going to get to the point where you're like, I don't want to do direct practice. anymore. I just want me a nice office job. I just want to sit by myself and maybe like fill out some papers. I could talk to a person every now and again with a scheduled meeting, but all of this seeing people every 30 minutes, every hour, not taking a lunch break, not taking a 15-minute break, not having guilt associated with taking days off. I can't do it anymore. Right? So when your energy shifts, that's a sign that it's time that you should be changing your needs and goals in your career when it comes to the type of jobs you want, right? And I wanted to make certain I said this extends way beyond just saying you want a remote job. That's not what I'm talking about. Saying you want a remote job, that's low-hanging fruit, right? Because you could get a remote job, but let's say it's with a population or issue that you have no interest in. That's the quickest way to find yourself in a misaligned situation, and that's the quickest way to have decreased career satisfaction and be dreading going to work or logging in to work every day because you're doing work that you don't like, that you don't support, that you can't stand behind, right? And so I say that to say this conversation is more about like what you need internally, but then also externally, over and beyond a remote job, right? And I always tell people, because it's usually a question, I get the questions about like, are macro jobs remote? A large percentage of them are, right? But that's not everyone's goal. I have coaching clients right now who are like, I want an in-person job. They love to be in the office. They love to be among their people. They say that's where they thrive the best, right? So a remote job is not goals for everyone. And again, this conversation is about you on an identity level. Like, who are you becoming as a person internally, right? And so the third area, let's jump into that, is why another like category of when you should be changing your career, your needs and your goals, is when it's time to better support those you love. Okay, so what I wrote down is like, maybe you are planning to get married. Maybe you're a single person. Hey, I represent for the single people. Maybe you're in a place in your life, well, I'm ready to get married. I'm ready to bring somebody into this, and I'm just ready to be in a partnership, right? That's going to require you to think about how you do your work on a daily basis. Right now, maybe you do work a direct practice job where you're required to be on call 24/7 and you're required to go out in the elements, or maybe you're in a position that requires you to travel all throughout the state to see clients, or travel in a major like geographical region where you're out all times of the night seeing your people. Or again, maybe you're 24/7 you're going out. That is going to have to shift when you bring somebody into your situation, because and I'll talk about this now, because another area where your career will have to shift is like family planning, right? I see a lot of my colleagues from my nonprofit days, one specifically, she just had her second baby, right? And I did a live with her before, so I can mention her name. Her live is on like in my old feed. Lisette. When I worked with Lisette was fresh coming out of her social work degree program when we worked together. Now she's on her second baby. She just had a cute little baby, right? And she's married. She's a married lady now. So her needs, wants, and desires changed. The Lisette that I knew before, who was over the SV program of the DV shelter that I worked in, was very different. She could go in the middle of the night to the hospital, to the cause, to support the survivors. So Lisette now, she couldn't do that with a newborn baby. She just had a month ago, right? So again, how you show up, the things that you want to do in your personal life will require changes in your career life. Right? And so the first is marriage. The second is family planning. If you want to bring a human into the world, if you want to adopt a human, if you want to be the caregiver for a sibling, it's going to require that you shift, right? It's going to require that you also think big about your financials. I always tell people that you think when babies are little, when kids are little, that's the most expensive part of it. No, it's when they get older. It's when they get older, and that's what people don't tell you, or maybe nobody told me, because you have summer camps to pay for, and I didn't put my child in low quality stuff, right? So I had summer camps to pay for every summer. My daughter was in private school all the way up into high school because there was no quality private high school in my city back then that I could send her to. So I was paying for private school tuition, uniforms, summer camp. In the summer, nobody tells you about your grocery bill goes up because they're home and they're packing lunch to go to summer camp. As they get into high school, they're in extracurricular activities, and you got to pay for all of the things. And then on top of that, you should be planning for college, right? So again, people don't talk about like all of these other things. And so again, when you are like considering this, even if right now you're like, I am nowhere near that, Marthea, I'm not on what you're talking about, I still want to plant the seed, because one day you will be. One day you might be to the point where I'm like, I'm ready to get someone. I'm ready to marry someone. I'm ready to do the such and such and such. Or even if you're ready to become a pet parent, you all with pets requires a lot, right? I learned that a few years ago that having a pet is like having a baby. Because you have to secure a child, you have to secure like a doggy sitter for the dog if you're out of town. You can't leave the dog unattended for long numbers of hours. Like, you all have to run back to the house to take the dog out for a walk and like spend time with it and things like that. If you're wanting to become a pet parent, you're going to have to really reevaluate, does your career allow you to support a pet? Okay, so marriage, family planning, and then I added in aging parents, right? So aging parents, I was recently having a discussion with one of my coaching clients who's having to reevaluate her career needs and goals due to a situation with her parent, right? And I went through something similar last month, right? So when you are dealing with it, if you, again, parent is subjective. It doesn't have to be blood. It can be someone that you love that's older than you, that maybe poured into you as a young child, and you're like, now it's time for me to kick in and support them. That's going to require a shift in the way that you show up in your career, right? And so with that, again, it's considerations over and beyond just a remote job, right? You may need a job that gives you the mental capacity, the freedom, the autonomy, like to not be overstressed, overworked, always overthinking things, because you need to use all the brain power you have to help your aging person navigate the different systems they have to navigate, right? And again, because it's a lot of work when you are like advocating for people, especially the people that you love in different systems, right? So in January, I'm not going to get too deep on it, I had to advocate for my mother in the healthcare system. And all I could think about during that time is, thank you, God, that I'm not working a 9 to 5, because I wouldn't have had the mental bandwidth to do that and battle the healthcare system, right? And so I say that to you as well. Professional, better supporting those you love will require a shift in your career needs and goals. And the person you were at the first 2 years, 3 years of being a social worker will shift. Okay. And the main thing that I really want you all to take away is that you should shift. You should not have any guilt associated with it. Yes, it will be great if you can like get one job and stay there to retirement and you have no qualms or issues with it. But the reality of that happening is little to none, especially if you are a person with a growth mindset, which I know is true for many of you all who follow my work, right? You are very about like upwardly progressing in your life, becoming a more like whole version of yourself, however you want to describe it. As you shift, as you evolve, your career should change with you as well. Okay, and if you're just joining me, I encourage you to go back and watch the replay. I was breaking down today about the fact that as your life changes, your career needs and goals should change. I broke down 3 critical areas that will, like 3 different developmental milestones in your life that will require you, it should require you to look at your career needs and goals differently, to like pivot into a place that provides you with more capacity, with more expansion, with more room and growth for like just being a whole person. And so the first area is your personal growth and development. The second is your professional growth and development. And then the third area is your need to better support the people you love, right? And so I wanted to talk about that because this weekend I'm having a 3-day career planning virtual retreat. It's the first time I've ever done anything that's multiple days outside of my full group career coaching program, the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator. So it's going to be a 3-day interactive virtual retreat where we are spending 2 hours each day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'm taking you through my proven strategies and steps to create a strategic career plan for yourself, right? If you don't have a plan for your career, you need to get one, especially in this day and age. And you need to understand and learn the fundamentals to effectively career plan, because every day something new is coming down from the national government. I logged on Facebook today and I saw that in Florida, the old state where I used to live and I used to work for state government, they're now adopting the practice that they're doing in DC where they're auditing the federal government, right? They're now going to do that in Florida to audit the Florida state government system, and they've already projected that they're going to lay off 600 people. Okay, so every day there's something new that's rolling down, and that's going to require you to have a plan of action in place of like, what do you need to be doing and when you need to be doing it to get where you need to be. Juliana said, I saw that. Juliana is in the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator. That's my old employer I always used to tell you about, the state of Florida. I worked with them for many years in a frontline position in call centers. The city where I moved from, everyone there has state jobs, right? So like how I saw that, it was posted on one of my old state colleagues' pages. So that's a big deal, and that's going to impact people. But, you know, hey, it's Florida. We dealt with a lot more, right? But anyway, so this weekend we're having a 3-day career planning retreat. I'm having a 3-day career planning retreat. It's going to be intensive. A lot of you have already purchased your tickets to attend. I'm so excited. I'm seeing names registering of people that I've never seen or talked to before. And I'm so excited that you all have chosen to invest in yourself in that way by attending. Because just talking to me, even just on the live, you're going to get something that's going to shift your like way of thinking, shift your outlook on your career as a whole. So the 3-day retreat is really going to be a paradigm shift, because I want to talk about things that you need to be considering over and beyond what degree I'm getting, what degree program I'm going to. Do I want a remote job or in-person job? Over and beyond what license or certification do I need? I'm going to be giving you some critical areas that you need to be considering in your career plan to make strategic career moves. Things that you need to be doing right now in your case management job, regardless of where you work, regardless of if you're already a macro social worker. There are things you need to be doing right now to position yourself for next month. One of the things that I've been working with my coaching clients is around their messaging, of how they explain to people what do they do as a macro social worker. Also, the week before that, we did a whole bonus workshop series of how to follow the money, what my process is to only target non-governmental organizations that have sufficient funding. Right? This whole talk about funding freezes, federal funding freezes, all of those things. I have strategies and techniques where there are things that you need to be looking at before you hit apply. You need to be evaluating the financial health of an organization, right? Again, no job is guaranteed. No job. However, there are some things that you can do to improve your job security. or job length, right? So you're not caught off guard like a duck in headlights. And so I love to get examples. So I'm going to get this example real quick. So an example of that is, it would not be in the best interest to maybe apply for a nonprofit right now that receives a large percentage of their funding from federal funding streams. Yeah, I know it's been halted. Yeah, I know they're contesting it and doing all of the things, but that would not be the best chess move right now. Okay, because federal funding streams are largely funding nonprofits where social workers work and social service agencies. That may not be the best move to take that job. You might need to look at a non-governmental organization, right? To ensure, like, once I get this job, they won't be coming to me 3 days later and saying that the job is closed or that I'm being laid off, or that for a lot of people, they're rescinding the job offer. Someone told me in my DM last week, she said that it was a response to something I was sharing in my stories about the federal funding freeze, and I was like telling people my thoughts around the theme, and she said that she was like in the process right now of either like getting ready to apply to something in the federal funding stream, or she was like, I don't remember, she was waiting on her offer letter, and she said that she's afraid. Right? She's afraid that it's going to be rescinded at any moment. And I was giving her some feedback on like what she should be doing in addition to waiting on that. We don't want to just wait on that and then the thing come and then they snatch it back and say, never mind, psych, I changed my mind. There's some other things you need to be doing. Right? Again, I just gave you all that tip. You should be applying to non-governmental organizations, and you need an effective plan to do that. What organizations are you going to target? When are you going to start applying? What do you need to be doing now strategically in your current position to get the experience you need to get that? You need a plan, right? Just like in any area of our life, we have plans. Even if you don't write it down, you have a plan. I did a whole podcast episode this morning. Here it is. Because I was talking about it on live last night about my career plan that I created as a case manager in my cubicle. This is my notebook from that year. It's from January to December. And every day I would create a new plan of action to get me to my larger career goals. And I shared this last night and in the podcast episode that I recorded this morning that'll be released tomorrow. Because where I am now, I'm living my career plan. I've checked off a lot in this book. A lot. Right? The fact that I'm currently in my PhD program and I'm working full-time in my business, I mapped that out 2019. I said, when I'm in my dissertation phase, I don't want to be working. I want to work in my business. And I created a plan of action. I started taking the strategic steps when in like 2018. We're in 2025. My first macro job, I mapped that out in a career plan. It's in this book. Every day I worked on something to get me to the goal. Right? A lot of people, what they do is they just create these goals and don't have a bigger vision in mind. I have a bigger vision. I just don't share it publicly. But I'm working towards the steps to get there. And one of them was, I don't want to be working nobody's job while I'm going through this dissertation writing phase. Another goal was I want to be in policy for the workforce development program that I worked on the front line. I mapped all of that out and got that job and worked there for almost a year until I was headhunted by a think tank in DC. Right? The plan changed a little bit. I didn't have DC in my trajectory, not at that point in time, largely because I was in love. And I thought I wanted to stay in that city forever, which I ended up being able to get a remote job because of COVID, right? So when the change came, when the people headhunted me and recruited me, I could change my career plan. It didn't change much. It was like, okay, now I'm going to work this job. I'll be required to travel, right? It may change like how I show up in my doctoral program because at that time I was taking my courses. Right? But the plan has not shifted. I still am focused on my bigger goals that I created. And so that's what I teach my coaching clients. And that's the whole purpose of the virtual career planning retreat that I'm having this weekend. You need a career plan. what I was saying earlier and kind of jump off of that, talking about love, because I love love. I'm a sucker for love, right? To my own detriment at times. But what I wanted to say was that you don't go into the grocery store without a grocery list, right? My phone is ringing, sorry. You don't jump in your car to go to a new destination without first pulling out your phone and going to Google Maps or to the app, to the GPS app on your phone and looking to see what is the best route. If you don't know, I just moved to Dallas. I just relocated to Dallas from Florida, and I've been driving as of lately. For the first 6 months, I didn't have a car, so I would take Lyft everywhere, so I didn't have to worry about how I would get there and like what the route is. But now I literally have to sit in my house for 10 minutes, put in the address where I'm going, look at the 3 alternate routes, and be like, which way do I want to go? I don't want to go on that interstate I went on the other night because it's congested and there's mayhem over there. I'm going to take the toll road. How do I get there? Right? I have a plan before I jump in my car and go to this place, unknown place that I've never been. It's the same thing with your career. You need a plan. You need to sit down in a dedicated time and place and map out what are you going to be doing in your career over and beyond just getting a degree. And one of the things I talked about in the video is the distinct difference between an education plan and a career plan. And I'm qualified to talk about it. I worked in higher ed as an academic advisor for a semester. And then I was like, this is too much like case management. And I exited stage left, right? But in school, you have an education plan. You go meet with your advisor at the beginning of your degree program and they sit down and they pull out the course sequence sheets. You all got it. You may have it digitally, but you have it. And it says for semester 1, spring such and such year, you're going to take these 4 classes. And then in summer such and such year, you're going to take these 3 classes. And then such and such fall, you're going to take these. And your projected graduation date at the top of the form is such and such semester. That's a plan, right? So you have an education plan, but now you need a career plan. You need a plan of action to say, what will be the job that I get next? What will be, for my students who are still in their degree programs, you need a career plan to map out what job will I get first upon graduation. Okay, how long will I stay there? What explicit experiences do I need to get to better position me for the job that I want next? Right? Because the job that you're in now, you should strategically be getting the experience you need to get the job that you want next. Right? So you're always thinking about the next thing. You're mapping out your plan. This is how my coaching clients get 2, 3, 4. They're on like the 4th, 5th macro jobs. The ones who came through the earlier cohorts. I'm now getting ready to open up cohort 18. I've been doing this for 5 years. Right? Those people are now on their 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th macro job. And it's because I taught them how to career plan inside of the accelerator. Right? So, and again, I say that because you don't want to become the dinosaur. Now, it's a different thing if you're like, I'm in this job, this is goals for me, I'm good. I have people like that. They're like, I'm just going to stay here for a while. Or I'm going to stay here until it's time for me to leave, right? That's a different thing from you are staying in a position because you don't know how to move. You don't know what jobs you qualify for. You don't know how to apply for the jobs. You don't know what your next move should be, right? It's a distinct difference. There's a lot of social workers who are stuck in their jobs because they don't know how to move to something better, right? They may only know how to move to the supervisor role of their department, which is a social service nonprofit organization. However, they have deeper desires to move completely outside of the organization to something unrelated, but they don't know how to do that. Or if they do think they know, they think that it is what they need is just another degree, even though they have multiple masters, multiple bachelor's degrees, or they think they need some type of certification or additional license. And just so you know, you don't need a license to do macro level work. That's a myth. That is false. Don't believe it. Okay. So I'm having the 3-day virtual career planning retreat. I want you to come. It's going to be good. It's the first time, again, I'm going to be online with y'all for 3 days. I've been resting to get my introvert energy up for all of this engagement. So my energy is high the whole time, but it's going to be good because I'm all about strategic career planning. One of my coaching clients is on the Zoom or on the live earlier. Like, they quote me with that. And now, because my job is to teach you how to think about your career. Right, so on Sunday in my Sunday group coaching call for the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator, one of my coaching clients was asking me about this thing that she wants to do to strategically position her for the next position that she wants. And what she said was like, this is me thinking strategically about my move and what I should do, right? And then we got into this whole conversation about like her creation of a professional development plan. But I was over the moon the fact that she was even thinking in that way. Because in her own words, she's never thought about her career in that way, right? So it's my job to plant the seed. So I encourage you to come to the virtual career planning retreat. It's on Friday. It's only 2 hours. I'm not going to keep you all night. You could come, learn what you need, and then go out in the world and be a free, wild person, right? And enjoy Friday night, then come back Saturday morning for 2 hours, and then go be free in the world. And then Sunday evening, we'll reconvene for 2 more hours, and then you can go be free. But by Sunday, you'll have a written out plan of action. Okay, and you will clearly understand what you need to be focused on in order to pivot outside of case management type jobs and organizations. So the link to purchase the ticket is in the bio. I'm going to close the ticket sales on Wednesday. I'm going to close the ticket sales on Wednesday, but you can purchase your ticket. The link in the bio. There will be replays. You can watch the replay back if you're like, I can't stay the whole time, or maybe you're going to miss a day. But remember, there's benefit in being live. Okay? All right. So I look forward to talking to you next time. Happy macro career planning. Bye.